So we could just talk about Sky One, your flagship entertainment channel, and how it's done. I mean, briefly, kind of your vision for it and how it's done over the last year. You happy?
Yeah, very happy, very happy. I mean, I've been here working with the gang for a couple of years, and we've been talking over the last couple of years about kind of making Sky this big, energetic, joyful, big-hearted, fresh entertainment channel for the whole family. That the whole family can watch together. And I think kind of, you know, we've been working towards making that a more consistent feel across the schedule. And certainly from this autumn, we're doing a kind of big push on Sky One this autumn. And we absolutely have a kind of consistency of offering across all the genres from now on. So the last year has kind of been, you know, trying out shows, seeing which shows will kind of, you know, get through, will kind of be liked and loved by the audience, so they can come back for this kind of big moment we've been working towards really for the last couple of years.
And lest anyone thinks you don't get fully into the shows you make on Sky One, a show on Sky One. Got to Dance, one of your big kind of event shows with Davina. Some of us saw you dancing, by the way, at the Soho House the other night on the dance floor. But look, this is you dancing, getting into Got to Dance on stage. You weren't actually featured on the show,
Look at
were
that,
you? Oh, there you are. Yeah. I mean,
no, so that was the live final, 6,000 people in Earl's Court. Look.
Yeah.
And Stuart, the warm-up guy, kind of to kind of keep everybody energised.
So the guy in the pink.
In the pink, yeah. Wanted people from the audience to do some dad dancing. Excellent. And I made the mistake of inviting my two daughters and all their friends to the final. Yeah. And of course, they all pointed at me. Yeah. And then everybody else behind me, including Celia Taylor and all her family, started pointing at me. And so he called me up and had no idea who I was. So randomly, out of 6,000 people, I was one of 2 people that had to dance on stage.
He must have thought you were really eager, like a really eager guy to take part in that thing. But that shows you how into it Adam is. Let's talk about some of the stuff that defines the channel for you. I'm particularly, when I got the press release for Wild Things, I was thinking, right, so you've got a bunch of people dressing up in life-size animal costumes, running around a forest. Yeah. It sounded quite a bold move. Why does this kind of sum up what you're looking for?
Well, I think, you know, last year, I remember kind of sitting here last year and we had that kind of awkward question about, you know, oh my God, what was I thinking? Yeah. And because I'd only really been in the channel for a year, you know, this was this kind of crazy show that kind of we'd commissioned. That we all kind of loved, you know, we all kind of thought it was, you know, I think I described it as a big daft slice of genius, but really weren't entirely sure kind of whether, you know, our customers would kind of share our kind of obsession with it. And so I wasn't sure, and I was slightly kind of nervous of kind of launching it onto the kind of the Sky audience because, you know, I thought, you know, me and the commissioning team might be frog-marched out of Osterley for commissioning something so daft. But this clip we're about to show really was the kind of a channel-defining moment for it because it kind of sums up, I think, you know, what we've been trying to do on the channel, which is to kind of be daft, to be silly, to be clever, but also to kind of celebrate the goodness of people. And so we've got this clip, which was a spontaneous thing that happened at the end of our first episode. So
let's have a look, yeah.
We did it! We did it! That was the worst. That was the worst few minutes of my life. We had a conversation and we decided that we would give the other couples, I'm going to start again. Yay! Oh, sweetie. £1,000 per couple. Yeah, good karma. They have made the whole experience for us. Oh, and I'm welling up too. How cool is that?
Really?
Obviously.
It's unbelievable.
Obviously, it's really nice of them.
Shocked me.
That's so lovely, like the kindest thing. We didn't expect anything.
Serious? You're choking me. Sorry, we're a bit emotional now, but it's really good, really nice. No, thank you. Thank you so much, guys.
we will be talking more in depth about that later. In fact, we'll have about 40 minutes on it, probably. But before we carry on, I'd just like to mention the app. So if you want to ask any questions in the middle of this session, if you've got the Edinburgh TV Festival app, if you go, there's a bit called Ask, and if you go there, type in your question. Apparently, so they say, it will magically appear on this iPad in front of me. We'll believe it when we see it. And I'll come to that. We've got time for questions as well from actual people in the audience later on. Let's talk about a review of the kind of specific big shows you've had over the last year. Let's start with factual entertainment and entertainment itself and factual stuff. You're bringing back quite a few shows that you've had on. So does that mean that things like 50 Ways to Kill Your Mammy and A League of Their Own and Desi Rascals and all those things, they're all performing well enough for you to boldly, absolutely bring them back and carry on them as returning shows?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, so for this autumn, we've got Carl back. So this is the first time, I think, that he's had a 2-year break. I think we've had kind of Carl in Idiot and Moaning of Life every year. And so it's kind of fantastic that he's coming back. And we're doing, so last year, we had a year without Carl. And so we had 50 Ways to Kill Your Mammy, which is kind of a big breakout hit for us. That kind of really summed up the kind of, the things we've been trying to do on the channel. So to be able to kind of bring those two back, one after the other, kind of consistently, is kind of fantastic. And so that kind of funny, factual vibe that we've got going is a big theme for us. We've got Duck Quack starting on Monday, coming back. And so I think kind of the thing I'm kind of most kind of pleased with is that now we have this kind of consistency across the channel throughout the whole year. So I think in the past we've had these kind of wonderful moments and wonderful shows that have come and then kind of, the channel's gone quiet a wee bit and they've come back again. And what we've been able to do by kind of really beefing up Sky One is to produce this consistency, so we can have 50 Ways to Kill Your Mammy going into Carl and going into A League of Their Own. And in drama, we've got this spine of kind of new drama, new kind of long-form drama, comedy, again, consistently, Mount Pleasant going into Trolley, going into Stella. And so we have kind of this consistency of sensibility and of kind of fantastic quality shows. I
know Carl, he's notoriously hard to get Carl Pilkington to do anything, let alone another series of a show. Was that part of the issue that Wyatt's taking this time?
No, not really. I mean, he was kind of, he's an absolute joy to kind of work with, and it's not kind of tricky at all. He loves the shows, he loves the channels, he loves doing it. He just works really, really hard, and the books he writes, he kind of writes them all himself. And he just kind of, after I think it was probably 5 series he's done for us, kind of wanted a break for a year, but it was always coming back to do kind of Moaning of Life too.
Well, let's have a look. We've got a clip from the new series of The Moaning of Life. Let's have a look.
Mine are nicer than yours.
I thought this helmet was like airtight. I can definitely smell shit in it.
He's going to start fire in a minute if he keeps rubbing. Stop a minute. Stop. Right, stop a minute.
Fucking hell.
He's shouting out commands like, lift your left arse cheek and stuff like that. I can't sort of control them individually. Not eyebrows.
Oh, God almighty. She could have gone into the blades for all I know. I don't know where she went.
So apart from seeing quite a lot of Carl's arse, is there anything else new and different about this series?
I think it's just the evolution of kind of Carl. I think kind of the first series of Moaning was the first one he did kind of without Ricky.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of a great moment for us and great moment for Carl to kind of move the story on a wee bit. I mean, he kind of, Carl very well. He's kind of turning into a kind of a philosopher that he's kind of slightly kind of reluctant to kind of hear me talking about, but he's got this kind of wisdom and clarity about the shows he does for us. But also, just funny. I mean, you kind of watch that, you watch Wild Things, and thinking about this session, it kind of just became clear that so much of what we do is kind of clever and silly and funny. And that's the sweet spot for us, to be kind of sharp. If you think about Wild Things, it's a bunch of people running around in kind of silly costumes.
Yes,
so many people have kind of come up to me and said, I'm addicted to it. It's so clever. It's so clever. It's kind of bigger than the sum of its parts. And so, so kind of, just funny, factual is kind of very important.
I mean, his shows are hugely popular, absolutely massive, like probably among your biggest rating shows. Is everyone that's kind of slightly surprised by how that's happened? That, he's this...
I don't know really. I mean, kind of, it was, I kind of inherited kind of Carl, so you need to kind of ask kind of Celia and Stuart kind of whether they're surprised, first time round. I think it was a kind of a big, bold thing that they did, to kind of, put kind of Carl's, front and centre kind of in the show. The other thing I love about Carl is when he's on and you watch social media, so many of our customers tweet saying, I'm just like him. Yeah. Or I've got a mate just like him. And I think I think people kind of love him and own him and see a lot of their life in him on screen on Sky One. So I think that's of real value to us.
Absolutely. What about new stuff? So that's returning things. You have got new factual shows coming up as well. What are the big ones you're
well, kind of so Celia and the team are here today, and so we kind of we talk about kind of non-scripted really together. So kind of factual and entertainment. And so we've got a big darts show coming up in September from Shoe ITV Productions called 180. It's a big kind of large-scale darts entertainment show where we have kind of the top darts players in the country, really brilliant amateurs darts players and their families going along to the Winter Gardens, I think it is, in Blackpool. And so this kind of big, modern 21st century event, a kind of huge scale game show around darts.
With Davina?
With Davina, sorry, kind of with Davina and Fred Flintoff presenting. So that starts filming, I think, next week, so we're going up to see that, so kind of very excited about that.
Gordonstoun, this insight into...
Gordonstoun we're doing, yeah. So we did Harrow 2 years ago, and so it's from the team that kind of did Inside Harrow, and we're doing kind of Gordonstoun. And also the other kind of great thing I'm very excited about, and I think we've got a clip coming up for Christmas. So every year we've done with kind of Sky 3D David Attenborough, and we know that kind of big blue chip natural history really works for us. And we've got this extraordinary new show, two-parter for Christmas, from a presenter called Patrick Irie, who's kind of new to television, really, new to Sky One. And it's this beautifully shot two-parter on the cat family, the kind of the most successful predator family on the planet. And I think we've got a really short clip of this, but it shows kind of just in this clip, kind of just how extraordinary this is going to be.
Yeah, so look at big cats.
Every cat on the planet, every lion, leopard, and even our humble house cat are all part of the same amazing animal family.
I'm in South Africa and I'm on my way to meet an expert who's worked so closely with lions that he can do something that virtually no other person can do.
I love you, I love you, I love you anyhow. I don't care if you don't want me, I'm yours right now.
The caracal is in full hunt mode.
Oh, you hear me? I put a spell on you. Come and bend but then you're mine.
And I think, so I talked about the family, and for me, kind of that's squarely aimed at kind of family viewing. And kind of it sums up that kind of, that really kind of big scale appeal we have to kind of families, but also kind of just the big-heartedness of what we try and do. So you've got Patrick kind of just so kind of joyfully happy about kind of sharing these experiences with these animals. It's lovely.
It's interesting. Patrick is a new face of TV. Kind of, I think Stuart Murphy said the other day that Sky wasn't necessarily interested in breaking new talent, but this is an example of that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I kind of think we're, it's not our job to to break new talent. It's not required of us. If you look at our schedule, most of the presenters we have are established presenters, and that's really kind of important to us to kind of signal to viewers kind of the shows, and to kind of give presenters, even kind of the big famous established presenters, something new and different to do. But every now and again, kind of somebody like Baz Ashmawi, like Patrick, they walk through the door and you think, my God, they're fantastic. So you know, let's go with them.
Where did you find Patrick then?
Sorry?
Where did you find Patrick?
It was a production company that kind of that brought him. He worked in the Natural History Unit as a researcher, I think, in the BBC, and he'd done a few little bits on telly at the BBC, and they kind of just thought he was amazing. They brought him to us, and we just thought he was extraordinary. So we kind of gave him the first big kind of blue chip show he's presented. Yeah.
Cool. We've talked about stuff that's worked and you're bringing back, and stuff you've got coming up that's exciting. We have to be a little bit negative. There is stuff that you've done that hasn't necessarily worked.
Of course, yeah.
We're calling this section "What Was I Thinking?" So, if there's one show or series of shows or event or whatever that didn't quite work, what have you picked and why?
So you know, this is it's really horrible to kind of. You know, I don't mind. You know, I don't mind showcasing my utter failures if they are mine. It's kind of I'm always nervous of kind of showing other people's programs. So this is a kind of a stunt we did at Christmas last year. And the year before that, to put it into context, the year before that we did, we turned Sky One into Sky Onesie for a day, which was kind of Christmas before last. And that worked really well for us. It's kind of a lovely kind of little playful treat that we do to for our customers each year. And so that was, it was the Christmas where everybody was getting getting onesies. We came up with this idea of New Year's Day where everybody's kind of just slobbing out watching telly. We can turn Sky One into Sky Onesie.
Did you actually send out onesies?
We sent out onesies, yeah. So I kind of tweeted a picture of myself in a lovely blue onesie, and we got all our customers to kind of take pictures of themselves in their own onesies. So that was really kind of, this section is about trying to anticipate the zeitgeist, and that worked really, really well. So this year we were thinking, what else can we do at Christmas? And it was a time where I think it was a John Lewis ad, had the kind of the penguin. And so everybody was getting obsessed with penguins. So we thought, well, that'd be great. We can kind of have a Sky One Penguin Day over Christmas, because it was kind of like the obsession of kind of British public. So we did a whole event. We turned, we had kind of Sky One logos merging into penguins. We had kind of penguin movies, penguin clips, and this was a show we commissioned about penguins. And it was a jolly good show. But just by the time you get to Christmas, the moment had gone. Our viewers were going, Sky Onesie I get, Sky Penguin Day.
Suddenly no one cared about penguins anymore.
Suddenly no one cared about
penguins. People are so fickle. I think we've got a clip, though,
we got a clip
the penguins, so let's try and work out.
This is kind of one show at the heart of the stunt day that never quite worked. It was a really good, funny show, but it just, kind of the viewers are going, why?
Yeah, fair enough, yeah. On to more positive things.
Yes.
I remember when I read that Sky as a whole was investing, was it 1.6 billion into football and all of that, thinking, how's this going to affect Sky's, entertainment channel budgets and things like that. But is it a tool, and have you still got lots of opportunities?
Yeah, it's kind of quite the opposite, actually. It's kind of, I think, the plans for the entertainment channels and for Sky One, the kind of continually investing in new content and that kind of investment increasing. And so that was completely unconnected to, to those rights. And actually, I think it's just given us, it's kind of an added boost, and the share price has gone up massively on Sky. And so we're much, the strategy for the channels hasn't changed, but I think we're all kind of just really kind of chuffed that we've got kind of big, chunky content across the entertainment channels as well as sport, and so it's kind of absolutely kind of fast forward really on kind of Sky One. And I think kind of what we've done on Sky One is kind of with the additional investment into content and with the kind of this big thread of drama at the heart of it, and then with the decision to kind of move the commissions money from Living to Sky One is kind of, to really kind of, Sky One gets its elbows out and becomes this big muscular channel, and kind of, all the big kind of marketing support that's directed to it in the autumn and the winter. I think, signals to everybody that we're serious about this stuff.
Have you got particular emphasis? I remember Tessa Matchett, your wonderful head of PR, one of the greatest PR people in TV, telling me about your 8 o'clock strategy. It was very important.
Yeah.
Is that still important? Are there different time slots you're looking at?
I mean, so, the story of 8 o'clock, because I did a big thing last year about us investing in 8 o'clock, and I said quite clearly that 1 in 3 would work. And that meant 2 in 3 wouldn't work, and I think I've kind of got close to that strike rate. And so, we're bringing back Freddie, which is kind of great success for us. Actually, Wild Things came out of that initiative for 8 o'clock. But what's happened over the last year, really, is that the shows we're acquiring from the States have been kind of hugely successful and really kind of speak to this kind of family audience, this fresh family audience we're going for, have been 8 o'clock shows. So we bought The Flash last year, that's hugely successful. We've got Arrow, and of course, the most exciting thing this year from the screenings, Muppets we bought, that we're kind of pairing with Modern Family. So we've got this kind of big spine now at 8 o'clock, which is really strong acquisitions. So what we are doing actually is we're moving the money from 8 o'clock into 9 o'clock. Still within the kind of the factual area, and so we're kind of looking for those bigger 9 o'clock pieces that can sit alongside Carl and Mammy in that kind of big, funny, factual space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, questions via the app are coming in live as we speak, so I'm going to ask a few of those now. Does family viewing really still exist, and now there is so much dual screening and audience fragmentation?
Yeah. I think I read a piece last year that was saying that actually families are physically converging into the front room again. I was telling somebody yesterday that, I will come back to your question. 30 years ago today, I was signing on down the road in Spittal Street because I was studying monkeys in Edinburgh Zoo, and that was all about kind of how close family troops sit together, and there's reasons why monkeys kind of converge together. And I think it's really interesting that actually with all this kind of dual screening, people are physically, getting back into the front room together, and they may be on a number of different screens. Certainly when I'm kind of watching telly with my kids, they are kind of doing other things, but they're completely engaged. Okay. And I think that's a big opportunity. So physically people are converging into the front room again.
I'm looking forward to Monkey Night at Christmas now.
We are doing something with primates, which hopefully we can kind of talk about next year, but that's just coincidental.
Okay,
It's a kind
excellent.
of personal project of
Fine.
mine. So kind of going back, so it's a real opportunity for us.
Right.
We know kind of people are together
Right.
in the front room, so actually if we can get their eyes up and on the same screen, and actually with things like Modern Family, with things like the Muppets, things like Yonderland, Wild Things, I think actually when you can get that moment together, then I think it's kind of really, really special.
People are obsessed with Netflix. There's a Netflix question. What impact, if any, has Netflix had on Sky One viewing? And in brackets it says, especially considering people could use unblocking sites to access content, i.e. Modern Family and Scandal. Oh, there you go. Have to deal with unblocking issues now. But Netflix in general.
Yeah, so Netflix, they are, like everybody else, kind of competition, and we've all worked in this industry for a long time, and we all love competition, and competition makes us all kind of better at our game. I mean, we don't kind of think too much about them. I don't think too much about any of the competition, really, just kind of focused on what we are doing. And I think kind of, the interesting thing we're doing across all our channels now, but we've been experimenting on Sky One, is just kind of playing with this on-demand catch-up model to make sure that we can kind of put our shows out in a whole variety of different forms. So if anybody who actually got round to spotting this on demand, when we showed Strike Back this year, I did a little message to our customers about our on-demand strategy for Strike Back. And so what we did was, because it was the last series of Strike Back, we wanted to share the kind of the final moments with everybody together. But what we did, we put 4 future episodes of Strike Back at the start of each month up on demand. And then the next 4 a month later, and the next 4 the month later, and so everybody was able to kind of watch the last 2 shows together to kind of see whether you could have this kind of dual version of consuming the shows, kind of linearly and in kind of snacks. I think snack stacks that we called them, where actually you could watch all 4 together. And I think kind of it's things like that that we're kind of playing with and experiment with. Is that are there different ways that we can present our content to people so they can consume in different ways? And that was really, really successful. And lots of people were kind of tweeting me their appreciation of that.
So people could binge view it if they wanted to, and they could watch it.
They could do whatever they want, you know. So they could kind of actually just kind of stack the whole thing up and watch them all at the end of the run. Yeah. They could watch kind of 4 in a go. And people, you know, there was somebody that tweeted me that said it's like watching a mini movie once a month, which I thought was rather nice. Yeah.
Talking of Strike Back, let's talk about drama then.
Yeah.
In terms of drama, what have you got in the pipeline? Do you want your drama to be competing in terms of quality and ambition with the stuff we see on what we used to call quaintly the terrestrial channels?
Absolutely, I kind of want to see our drama as being kind of big, successful, quality drama. I think you know. So drama is the thing. If you look at Sky One over the next year, kind of it's the drama that I call the spine of the channel that we're able to kind of now get in kind of real volume. And I think kind of, you know, working with Anne and Cameron for the last couple of years, we've been kind of developing and commissioning drama that kind of speaks to the new vision of Sky One we have. You know, this kind of big, joyful, high concept channel. And I think kind of with drama, you kind of really, you know, the drama community's really kind of engaged with what Anne and Cameron have been doing, but it's kind of great to actually say, okay, this is it, this is what we mean. And so we have You, Me and the Apocalypse coming up this autumn with this kind of extraordinary poster outside that I hope everybody's seen, you know, which is the first of the new flavour of drama, 10 parts telling the story of the end of the world. And that will be followed next year with Lucky Man, with Jimmy Nesbitt, The Five, Agatha Raisin. So again, we can kind of point to these shows and say, this is what we mean by kind of big, exuberant, high-concept drama.
The Five is the Harlan Coben, who's one of my favourite writers, brilliant crime writer. He's created this big epic crime series.
Kind of specifically for us and for kind of the UK audience. And I've seen 2 episodes of them now, and it's really, really good.
I think we're going to have a look at You, Me and the Apocalypse. I thought from the title and from the cast, it's kind of like comedy, but so it's in your drama.
Yeah, you know, it's drama. You know, bloody hell, Boyd, it's about the end of the world. How much more dramatic can you get?
Yeah, fair enough.
You know,
let's not laugh about that.
There's laughs along the way.
Okay.
But you know, again, it's this. You know, it's dramatic. It's funny. It's epic. It's extraordinary. It's high concept. And so we've got just a wee clip, and it has Rob Lowe in.
Pricks. Who the fuck are you?
Sister Celine, I am here for the interview.
Oh, yes. The researcher job, please. Bear with me. Sister Celine. Sister Celine. Sorry about my language, by the way.
Oh, it's okay. I speak English.
I meant my potty mouth. My swearing. Did it offend you?
It surprised me a little, but no, it does not offend.
Let me ask you, do you find the phrase Christ on a bike offensive? Because I just used it in a meeting and you would have thought that I'd performed an abortion on the table or something.
Well, I suppose the image of Christ riding a bicycle could seem a little bit disrespectful.
Really? Because I think he'd be very likely to ride a bike. He seems like that kind of a guy to me. What else would he show up in? Stretch Hummer?
It's a comedy, it's a drama,
okay.
It's an end-of-the-world story.
Yeah.
I think kind of the interesting thing is it's different.
Sure.
And that's the thing we're doing on drama. When you speak to our customers, they say, we pay for Sky. We can get lots of drama for free on the terrestrials. That's really good drama. When we come to Sky, we want to see you do something different. And I think that's kind of what we've been working towards making. And I think with these shows we have, with these 4 shows we've got lined up, that's a really good example of kind of this big, you know, I talk about kind of merging the the kind of UK drama sensibility and the American drama sensibility into these big high concept pieces that are kind of quality, beautifully acted, really enjoyable to watch, but really kind of stay with you.
Is that the key? You said the high concept, because I'm looking at the kind of, they're quite disparate, aren't they? Lucky Man, you've got kind of crime, you've got big, quite comedic, quirky thing in Agatha Ray.
Yeah.
You've got that. So is it, in fact, the concept has to be eye-catching first? That's the main thing.
I think so, kind of, it's high concept, it's kind of exuberant, it's a kind of a romp. But, I kind of talk, lots of people talk about that kind of dissonance between ordinary and extraordinary, and I think there's a lot of drama that are set in ordinary worlds where the characters are extraordinary. And I like this notion of you set something in an extraordinary situation and the characters kind of show what ordinary people behave in that situation. So with You, Me and the Apocalypse, it's the end of the world. With Lucky Man, it's a down and out cop that gets a bracelet that gives him the power over luck. With The Five, it's this extraordinary crime moment where somebody from their past comes back to kind of reappear in their lives. And I think it's kind of how ordinary people behave in this world that's somehow kind of heightened. That I think is something I kind of really enjoy.
And can you define what separates the kind of drama you're looking for on Sky One from the kind of thing we see on Sky Atlantic? Because Sky Atlantic has, like The Five, for example, strikes me as a show that could be on Sky Atlantic.
I think I like a lot of running.
Yeah.
I like a lot of laughs. I think kind of, I think Sky One, the central protagonists are always good people, always trying to do good. In extraordinary circumstances. I think there is a lot more joy, a lot more kind of twists and turns along the way. I think kind of Atlantic, that's all about that kind of, morally ambiguous world, that kind of
horrible people on
drama.
Yeah.
That, it's the novel. It's it's kind of, drama is the 21st century novel. Whereas on Sky One, it's this big, exuberant romp of a ride. Yeah.
Comedy? What kind of comedy are you looking for, and what kind of?
So comedy again. The great thing on Sky One, we've got Mount Pleasant coming to Sky One. I think it's first series on Sky One. So we've got
from the not defunct living.
From the not defunct living, and so we, again, we've got. If you look at kind of the similarities between Mount Pleasant and Trollid and Stella, you get that sense of this kind of family world, this kind of big-hearted, life-affirming, joyful space. And so that's kind of great. And then kind of in this next year, added onto that, we've got a couple of shows from Jelly Legs. So we've got a new show we've commissioned called, it's the Rovers, which is set in kind of the lower league football division. So again, it's family, it's funny, it's kind of, I'm seeing the picture of Sue Johnson there, kind of big, iconic central characters, big, larger-than-life characters. But again, it's kind of that wearing your heart on the sleeve, that big celebration of the wonder of being alive and sharing your time on the planet with other people and having kind of fun along the way. And also just in terms of, I know kind of afterwards, we've got, everybody, I think we're all kind of walking down to the basement to kind of meet all the commissioners that are here. In terms of comedy, we've spoken about the search for a big studio comedy show. That I think we're multicam show that we're kind of very keen to have, to gain that sense of laughing together in a crowd with other people, kind of get that kind of, I talk about in comedy that the kind of the studio comedy has that kind of analog vinyl feel to it compared to, the very successful kind of single cams we have.
But it's one of the hardest things to get right, isn't it? That kind of.
I think comedy is incredibly hard to get right, across the board.
Particularly that studio.
But I think that studio thing, is kind of is a challenge. And I think kind of the challenge for us and for Lucy and John is to kind of say, what is the Sky One version of the studio comedy show? And again, we kind of think about America and we think about Cheers and kind of Taxi and Friends and thinking, oh, that's the kind of interest. We haven't quite had that kind of flavour on British television. So that's kind of what we're kind of, talking about with the comedy makers out there.
Let's talk about how to pitch to you and your colleagues at Sky One. Apart from people coming up to you downstairs in the networking opportunity that we're coming up after this thing and throwing their scripts at you, which I'm sure you'll love. What's the best way for people to pitch to you and the team?
I got a very clear response to that, which is go and talk to the commissioners, because they're the people that commission. And I think, for people that know me kind of know that that's kind of, I very much believe that. That's kind of, talk to the commissioners. We all sit together, We all talk to each other every day. They are the experts. They're the kind of the craftspeople.
And which commissioner for which genre should they? How does it work? What's the kind of?
So you know, it's kind of Anne Mensah and Cameron on drama and their development team, Lucy Lumsden and John and Ben Boyer for comedy, and I think kind of John's here, and then in the Celia's area, Celia Taylor. And kind of a number of commissioners. So I think we've got Richard Ackerman here, we've got Siobhan Mulholland here, and so we all literally sit together and talk all the time. And so yeah, don't talk to me, talk to the commissioners.
And Stuart Murphy, does Stuart get involved? Does he on high? You know, do you go? Oh, we've got this thing.
Yeah, we all sit together. So we all kind of, you know, it's kind of not like, oh, you know, should I now kind of, you know, forward it to Stuart. We all, because we've got this idea, Stuart, if he's around and I'm not around, what do you think about it?
Yeah. People wearing animal costumes, like, do it. Yeah. We've got more questions from the app. Excellent. Here's one. Broadcasters don't really seem to be committed to on-screen diversity. Is this a niche for Sky One to exploit? Because you have been very vocal in you've got absolute numbers on diversity.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'd use that language, but it's absolutely kind of central to what we're doing. Absolutely central. And I think you know, a few people have said that over the last couple of days. Our audience is diverse. The people that blooming pay for us are a whole variety of people, and it's absolutely commercially essential that we reflect them and our customers on screen, and also the sensibilities in the program making community behind the screen. I think we're all doing it. I think every channel's doing it. I think, you know, everybody is serious about it. I think we've been pretty bold and upfront and on the front foot right from early doors with kind of Stuart's commitment to that. But no, we're all absolutely committed to it. Yeah.
You said last year. Here's another question from the app. You said last year you wanted to quicken the pulse of Sky One viewers. Yeah. Have you managed to do that?
I think so. I think so.
What examples would you give?
Well, I think kind of, you know, everything really. I mean, if you look at You, Me and the Apocalypse, we've got a meteorite about to hit the Earth, and everybody's got 34 days to live. So there's a lot of kind of pulse quickening there.
Yeah.
You know, The Five is just blimey. The twists and turns and the hooks on that is kind of extraordinary. So I think everything we're doing is kind of, you know, it's just more energetic. And I think, you know, and like I said right from the outset, you know, the channel I inherited had lots of that in places. And I think what we've been able to do is to kind of make that a more kind of consistent flavour to the channel. And also from the autumn and particularly into next year, in terms of what we're doing with the presentation of the channel, the bits in between the programmes, you'll get that sense of kind of energy and fun kind of happening. So hopefully in kind of years' time, I'll be able to sit here and people kind of naturally go, oh yeah, I know exactly what you've been talking about now.
Yeah. So we've got virtual questions on the app. Does anyone want to ask an actual real question and put your hand up boldly and ask Adam anything you want? We've got roving mics and everything for the next few minutes. Anyone got a question to ask? Anyone at all?
Did you like my choice of song, Friday on Your Mind? No.
No, clearly. Everyone's too hungover to us. I've got more questions on the app, so it's fine. Here are a couple more. Who would be your idol personalities in a Celebrity Wild Things? And in fact, are you going to do a Celebrity Wild Things?
We are going to do a Celebrity Wild Things. Sorry, it makes me smile because I just think, you know, it's kind of, it's part of the joy of Wild Things. I love the idea of having a celebrity show where you don't see the celebrities.
Yeah, that's good.
So we are going to do Celebrity Wild Things. We're working on it at the moment, and we're going to take all these celebrities and we're going to put big mole heads on them, and we'll only kind of show them in the last few minutes.
That's cunning. That is genuinely bold. And so who's the... I guess you can't say, because that will kind of slightly give away who you're going to get, won't it, if you say who you want to be in it?
Yeah,
exactly. Okay, fine.
But the interesting thing is, that's the kind of power of the wide... I've never known a show where, right from the outset, people were tweeting us and phoning up and writing to the press people saying, I want to be in it, I want to be in it. And actually there's been quite a few surprising celebrities that have said that as well.
Oh, okay, excellent. How have you managed to attract the big talent? Is it purely down to you throwing money at them, it says here?
No, not at all. I mean, you know, we like making kind of, you know, well-funded, big, epic shows. But I think it's, you know, I think, and people tell me this, but I think it's kind of just the fun we have with people. I think it's giving people the opportunity to make kind of different types of shows. You know, if you look at, say, Kate Humble presenting Wild Things, you kind of think, well, that's kind of fun. And she kind of says, yeah, well, you know, nobody else would have offered me that. I think kind of, you know, I like to think it's enjoyable and creatively rewarding to work with the commissioners here and to get the opportunity to make shows that are different from what the other channels are doing.
Someone like Rob Lowe, though, arriving in that show, that's quite how does that happen? Is it partly it's a co-production, is it? Or
no. I mean, kind of that was kind of commissioned from us in the first instance, and I think it's just the quality of the script, and I think it's the quality of the people making the shows. You know, the script, it's Ian Hollins, I think, who wrote it, and it's properly funny, and it's properly good, and it's properly epic. And the Father Jude character is a really, really distinct character like you've not seen on telly before. So it's quality. You know, quality is. You know, somebody said earlier this week, quality is the best business plan.
Yeah. After the Penguins, what's your Christmas novelty theme day this year?
I don't know. Answers on a postcard. You guys have got to come up with it.
Could be monkeys. Yeah. We know that. It's possible. And who do you now consider your key competitors? Who's Sky One's competitors?
I never have actually in kind of anywhere I've worked thought about competitors. You just focus on what you want to do with the channel. You focus on kind of the vision for the channel. You focus on the kind of the talented people you want to work with and making the channel as good as it can be. You know, it's that old thing, if you build it, they will come, and I kind of really believe in that, yeah.
Thank you very much
to
Adam MacDonald. And thanks to Broadcast, the sponsors as well. Thank you.